ceasefire, terrorist groups detonate a booby-trapped car in Damascus countryside. Lavrov asserts to Mr. al-Brahimi the necessity of convincing all parties in Syria to observe a ceasefire and move to a political dialogue. And al-Brahimi says we shall work with all parties inside and outside Syria to reduce violence and end it. For the fourth day running, terrorist groups continue to violate the ceasefire announced by the Syrian Arab Army Command. In Jaramana and Damascus countryside, the terrorists detonated a booby-trapped car, killing 10 people and causing damage to 20 vehicles and 15 shops in the area. The explosion took place in al-Rawda quarter. The victims included women and children and left more than 50 others wounded. And in the resort, terrorist groups carried out attacks on sabotage in the countryside of the governorate in the area of Ashhel. The Syrian Arab Army and armed forces confronted them, inflicted heavy casualties among them, and destroyed a number of their vehicles. In Homs, and in another violation of the ceasefire at the hands of the terrorist groups, which attacked army roadblocks in this Babhoud and the area of Az-Zafarani in Al-Rastan countryside. The Syrian Arab Army units confronted the terrorists and inflicted heavy casualties among them, destroying their equipment. In Aleppo, a terrorist group launched a homemade missile on a residential building in Al-Hamadaniya neighborhood. Syrian TV reporter said it caused only material damages. The General Command of the Army and Armed Forces announced yesterday that terrorist groups continued their violations of the ceasefire for the third day running. The terrorists committed these violations in the countryside of Damascus, Homs, Hama, Aleppo, Idlib, and Deir ez-Zor. The General Command asserted that such gross violations proved that the terrorists were carrying out a foreign plot to fragmentize and destroy the country. This makes it inevitable to confront them in order to get rid of their evil crimes. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov affirmed that Russia supported the efforts of the UN envoy to Syria, al-Brahimi, to resolve the crisis and launch a political dialogue since the beginning, which is the same principle adopted in the Geneva Agreement, voicing concern over the escalation of violence in the country. In a joint press conference with al-Brahimi on Monday, Lavrov said his talks with the UN envoy seek to find new steps to end violence and the bloodshed in Syria and launch dialogue, regretting that al-Brahimi's efforts for a truce during Eid al-Adha holiday were not productive. He also affirmed the need for the international community to support dialogue between the Syrian government and the opposition, noting that there were sides that hindered the work of international observers in Syria and are currently hindering dialogue and efforts to achieve peace. For his part, al-Brahimi said that the bombings committed by some groups in residential areas are classified as acts of terrorism committed by groups he had no contact with, saying that such actions were condemned by the Security Council, UN Secretary General, and all foreign sides. Al-Brahimi said that the Syrian government announced its commitment to halt military operations within Eid al-Adha holiday and that a small number of opposition forces, according to him, did likewise, which is why other sides are accused of violating the ceasefire. He warned that the situation in Syria is bad and getting worse, and that the international community must work together to help Syrians and resolve the crisis. The Chinese Foreign Ministry announced that Mr. al-Brahimi would visit Beijing during this week in order to discuss ways and means of finding a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria. The spokesperson of the ministry said in a press conference that China has constantly expressed support for the UN envoy and called upon the parties concerned in Syria to respond positively to the ceasefire during the Eid vacation. He added that Beijing hoped that all parties would take this opportunity to make the ceasefire permanent. The Chinese paper Global Times quoted Chinese intelligence sources as having said that armed men from the movement of Islamic Eastern Turkestan, which is active in the autonomous province of Xinjiang Uyghur in China, were fighting against the Syrian army within the opposition forces. A source in the counter-terrorism agencies told the paper that terrorist organization in Eastern Turkestan organized the travel of their members to Syria. They have been going there since last May and establishing contacts with al-Qaeda in order to fight against the Syrian government. The paper added that the Chinese fighters received support from al-Qaeda and gained money from smuggling drugs and weapons, in addition to kidnapping people and looting operations. And with this, we reach the end of our news for today. For more details, visit our website in English, www.syriaonline.sy. For now, stay with us. After the break, Denise has the latest in economy.